Hello and welcome back to the We Are City channel, and today we're going to be exploring Manchester City's squad going into the season next season. So we're going to look at, players that need to sign in 3 positions. We're going to look through the squad, discuss who should leave, who should stay, all those good things. Let's get into the episode. So in terms of the lineup, this is a lineup we've used for most of the season. I know people might think it was a double pivot with Rodri and Gundogan, but really Pep tends to stick to the same formation, doesn't he? And it's a 4 at the back, a 3 midfield, and 3 forwards. And that's how it's been working for most of the season. That's what we've used throughout, the time that Pep Guardiola has been here. And our strongest lineup so far this season, arguably, at the time of recording this, it's before the Champions League final. We've had a really successful season, and you might say, no, this isn't our strongest lineup because, I don't know, Zinchenko made a mistake or something. But Ederson in goal, of course, a back 4 of Walker, Stones, Diaz and Zinchenko, Rodri in the midfield with Bernardo and Gundogan, and then a false 9 of Kevin De Bruyne, Mahrez on the right, and Foden on the left. Now, there's few arguments you can make maybe to change on this side. Maybe we could bring in Cancelo for Zinchenko at left back. Cancelo's had a fantastic season, and he played at left back at a lot of the Champions League games, hasn't he, in the knockout rounds. And remember that unbelievable performance he put in away at Gladbach. And of course, you could bring in Fernandinho, of course, for Rodri as well. Fernandinho maybe a more of a level head in that midfield and more experienced club captain, hence why you'd put him in there in that midfield. Now, De Bruyne played a lot then in that false 9 position, but I'm expecting that to change next season. So going into this season, when we're looking at the squad and the squad depth, how many players got in each position, City like and Pep likes to have 2 strong players in each position due to injuries and the amount of games we play in the Premier League. So you see there, goalkeeper, Ederson and Steffen. Right back, Walker, Cancelo. Centre back, we've got Diaz and Stones. And the left centre back, we've got Laporte and Ake. We've got Zinchenko and Mendy at left back. Rodri and Fernandinho holding the midfield. De Bruyne and Bernardo and Gundogan the midfielders. Gundogan, the only one really on that side. We maybe lack a midfielder, but we're not so sure on that one. Players can play there. Then Foden and Sterling on the left-hand side. Mahrez and Torres on the right-hand side. And Jesus and Sergio Aguero through the middle as the strikers. And that was our squad depth this season, and that is probably one of the strongest sides in the Premier League, and it's really good, isn't it, squad depth wise. We got 2 players in each position. You maybe say the Gundogan one, we haven't, but we've got youngsters who can play there as well. I mean, we've not even added all the players in there, have we? We've got Eric Garcia, who can play at the centre-back position. We've got Scott Carson, who's also part of the squad in the midfield. And, of course, Tommy Doyle could probably play that Gundogan role pretty well. He's more of a defensive midfielder, but Doyle could play that role really well. So that shows that we do have a really strong squad, a 25-man squad that has worked this season. So Doyle and Delap were the most used youngsters, hence why I used them to build up to that 25-man squad. The most used this season, the cup game is pretty much what they played. And we know there's already 2 confirmed departures from the club already, don't we? The first one is Sergio Aguero. We know Sergio will be leaving the club at the end of the season. It's been announced he will leave the club. So Sergio Aguero has left. And we need a striker, possibly. I think everyone agrees on that one. We do need a striker. Sergio will be leaving on a free transfer, and it looks like he's going to Barcelona. And he will be joined by Eric Garcia, another man that makes up that 25-man squad. Although I don't think he's a crucial part of the team, despite playing games. I think we've got enough at centre-back, haven't we? Without Eric Garcia, I don't think a centre-back is something we need to worry about. So Eric Garcia will also be leaving on the free to join Barcelona. So that's 2 players, one very crucial player, one club legend, and one that's good for squad depth. They're both leaving the club at the end of this season. Now, another player that could be leaving is Scott Carson, because his contract, he's only on loan at Manchester City from Derby, does end. However, we are expecting Carson, as his contract at Derby ends, to return from his loan to Derby. His contract will then end with Derby, and then he will return to Manchester City on a free transfer. So we're going to, in the whole of this, factor in the fact that Scott Carson will probably be staying at the club on a permanent deal at the end of the season. Now, there are some uncertainties of players maybe departing the squad at the end of the season, and one of them is Raheem Sterling's had a really poor season for form, hasn't he? And he's rumoured to be maybe leaving the club. He's on a 2-year contract, so City, if they want going to sell him, they need to sell him now before he runs down his contract to 1 year. But we'll see how that goes. I don't expect Sterling to be leaving the club. Another one is Benjamin Mendy. Mendy is expected maybe to leave the club also, very uncertain on his future. Was a massively amazing player, I believe, when he first joined from Monaco years ago. And just due to the injuries, they've ruined him, haven't they? His knees are gone. He just got no pace. He can't cross, can't dribble, can't defend. And it's a shame for him, really. If this City were to sell him, it's going to be a difficult sale, really, because who would want him? But he's another uncertainty going into next season. Another one is Gabriel Jesus. We're not sure where his future lies. Does he go in a swap deal with someone? That's been rumoured around, hasn't it? And he's also not been great. Maybe his future lies in a wider position. I think he's actually a decent winger. I think he's much better on the wing than he is through the middle. He just hasn't got that striker's instinct that he needs as a centre-forward. Another one is Fernandinho. Now, at the time of recording, Fernandinho hasn't signed a new contract, but there is rumours he will be signing a new contract, and City won't be going for a holding midfielder because Fernandinho will be sticking around. That means they can wait another year to look for his successor, and I think that'd be great. I mean, he's proven that he's still got the fitness, he's still got the quality, even at 36, 37, to continue to play for Manchester City, so I hope that contract is announced, and like I said, it could be announced at the time of this video. And the final one is Aymeric Laporte. Again, a bit of uncertainty around his future. He's not happy that he's not playing first team football all the time because Stones and Diaz have got such a good connection. But I think Laporte will be used a lot like next season, and City need a left-footed centre-back. If they were to lose Laporte, I expect them to go into the market for a left-footed centre-back. But with all these players that are uncertain, there's only probably one of these that I expect to leave the club. The rest I do expect to stay because I think Pep Guardiola rates them really highly, and they want to be at the team. I think they do really want to be with the squad going into next season, and we need them. They're all top-quality players despite poor form this season. So with the departures from the team, this is how the squad will be looking at the end of this season, with Sergio gone, with Eric Garcia gone. And we need to see how the squad's going to look in next season. Of course, this is last year's kit. So let's get into the new kit and have a look how the squad will look at the start of next season. So new kit, new season, this is how the squad is looking. I've added in a few players. You can see there, Cole Palmer is the one who's come in. Liam Delap, of course, there with Doyle and Carson. They're sort of like third choice, hence why they're in the dark grey. But Cole Palmer's coming in. He's had a fantastic season for the youth team. He's a sort of, I don't know, Riyad Mahrez. He's a bit bigger than Mahrez, actually. He's tall, he's elegant, but he has got that Riyad Mahrez about him. And I think he deserves chances next season. I think he will get chances along with Liam Delap, Tommy Doyle possibly as well. More so Delap and Palmer, I think, have got more of a chance. But those two are definitely going to be in the squad surely next season. So before we talk about incomings, we need to talk about outgoings. And I'm only expecting one high-profile departure from the side this summer, and that to me is going to be Benjamin Mendy. I don't think it'll be on a permanent transfer. I don't think City are going to find someone, a new home for him that will take him. I think how it will happen is we'll probably see Mendy move on a loan deal. Maybe City can get a bit of money in that, maybe 3 million or so for a team to pay to take him on loan, maybe to a mid-table French side. I'm not quite sure, but he's definitely not Manchester City quality, and I think it'd be very hard for City to find a new home for Mendy. But he's a massive asset in the dressing room. You know, obviously he makes the players happy. He's a comedian, isn't he? That's his sort of personality. But you've got to worry about what he shows on the pitch, and on the pitch he's not good enough. So with Mendy gone out the squad, City do look really slack at left back, don't they? We look like we lack options. Now I know Zinchenko, he plays left back, Ake can play left back, and Cancelo can play left back, and they all can do a good job at left back. But the issue is that we haven't got one player who is actually a natural left back. Cancelo's a right back, Ake is a centre back, and Zinchenko is a midfielder, and all three of them are covering that left back position. I think City need to bring in one person who is a natural left back, and I think, to me, as much as striker as well, that's something we need to look at. I don't think we'll go into the season with just Jesus and Delap as our strikers. Maybe Ferran Torres could play there, but even so, I think striker's a massive thing. City need to address the striker situation, but left back could be massive as well, especially if they do get what they want, which I think is to let Benjamin Mendy go. So let's see who our options are for left back. For each of these transfer target options, we'll explore 3 possibilities for the club going into next season. We'll bring you our pick, our We Are City pick from the players we've watched personally and decided, you know what, I think Manchester City should sign that player. Pep's picked the player that's been heavily linked to Manchester City and the one that it seems that Pep Guardiola would like, and the one that's the perfect Pep player, I suppose, to go into that position. And finally, a budget pick. If City are working on sort of a budget, they don't want to spend too much money, who would be our pick to, you know, come in and be a cheaper option in the fullback position. So the first one is our pick, and our pick is the Frenchman from AC Milan. It's Theo Hernandez. I think he is, you know, this perfect Manchester City fullback. Personally, he's physically strong. To me, he's sort of like he's got that Kyle Walker ability to him because he's so quick and physical, and he's decent defensively, but he's so good offensively as well. He's coming at around 60 million, I think he costs, from AC Milan. He's made 44 appearances this season, 8 goals and 7 assists from fullback. That shows how good he is going forward. It shows how explosive he is as well with his pace and his physicality. I really do like that about him. Manchester City were close to signing him in Pep's first season. They tried to sign him and his brother Luka Hernandez from Atletico Madrid for around a combined 100 million. It didn't work out in the end. It was rejected by Atletico and both went separate ways. Theo went to Real Madrid and now it's at AC Milan. Luka Hernandez went to Bayern Munich. 2 top players. I think Theo Hernandez personally is my favourite for left back. Do I think it'll happen? I don't think so. AC Milan look like they're going to get back into the Champions League, and I think AC Milan are happy to hold on to Theo Hernandez, and I think he'd be happy to stay in Italy. Clearly a league that's worked really well for him, so Theo Hernandez is probably least likely to happen out of these three, but he's definitely my top pick for left back at Manchester City. So Pep Guardiola's pick is the one most heavily linked to Manchester City, the one most likely to happen, and that is Nuno Mendes, the Portuguese fullback who's now in the Portuguese national team. Will be playing at the Euro, so keep an eye on him, see how he plays. He's been really good for Sporting Lisbon. The only issue as I've seen with him is he plays in a back five, and any defensive deficiencies that he has, you don't get to see them in the back five. I know Pedro Porro on loan from City would be involved in this deal if City were to sign Mendes, so maybe they'll pay 70 million for him and let Porro go there for 20, so it works out about 50 million. But Pedro Porro, he's not so good when playing for Spain as a fullback in a back four, but as a wing back for Sporting Lisbon, he's been fantastic. So that's the only worry about him. But Nuno Mendes, he looks the real deal, and he looks a bit like Benjamin Mendy in his Monaco days, and that's exactly the side of fullback that we need at Manchester City. Marauding, good going forward, gets crosses in. Some of the crosses he puts in are absolutely unbelievable, and I think he's probably the favourite to join Manchester City. And each one of the Pep's picks are the ones we'll show in the team at the end. And finally, the budget pick. We've gone with Jose Gaya from Valencia. 7 assists and 1 goal this season in 34 appearances. He's not made that many appearances. He has got a bit of an iffy injury record, but I think he's a top player. Valencia have been poor this season. They won't be playing any European football. Maybe City can entice me away because of all the issues with Valencia at the moment. And it's rumoured that you can pick Jose Gaya up for around 25 million, which is, I mean, for an international fullback playing first choice at most times for Spain, maybe behind Jordi Alba, I think he's a really good budget pick, and maybe it's quite likely because of that. Maybe City will sign him because of the cheaper side. I know he's got a bit of an iffy injury record. I know that he's had maybe a poor season, you could say, with Valencia, but that's the players around him. He's a top quality player, captain for Valencia, leader. His physicality might cause him an issue in the Premier League because he's not the biggest, crosses to the far post. He's not going to head them away. But from what I've seen, from when I've seen him for years now, he is a top player. So looking at the side now, this is how the team would look with Pep's pick. We'll always go with Pep's pick, Nuno Mendes in the side, and I think he'll be a starter at left back ahead of Zinchenko by the time that comes to January, halfway through the season. And that side is coming together really well, isn't it? Look how strong that Manchester City side is looking there. But yet, it's not over, because we're going to make 3 signings. We're going to predict 3 signings. 2 are, I think, realistic. 1 is one which is a bit of a luxury signing, one that Pep would like. Whether it'll happen or not, we're not quite sure. So let's get onto signing 2, which is, of course, that striker position right there. City won't go into the season, I can't see, with Alap and Gabriel Jesus as strikers, so we need someone to pick up all those goals that Sergio Aguero's left, someone who can score maybe 50, 60 goals a season if they're that good. Here are 3 picks for striker. So striker is an interesting one. No doubt City need a striker, no doubt City want a striker, and City have done so well this season playing that false 9 with Kevin De Bruyne, have been so successful without playing, with players that can score you 30, 40 goals a season, but City need that. And just imagine how good this City side would be if they were to add goals to the team. So the first one, our pick, and I think it's every Manchester City fan's pick. I think anyone in the world would want this man in their team. Every team, Real Madrid, Barcelona, PSG, Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, whoever it may be, it's Erling Haaland. He has got, now look at these stats here, it's ridiculous for a striker. In 41 appearances this season, 41 goals and 12 assists. Well, clearly 12 assists proves he's got the link-up play for a Manchester City striker. He's got, he just bullies any defender. He's actually got good ball control, he's good on the ball, he's finishing, the power he puts behind his shots are ridiculous. Now, the only problem with him is, of course, he'll come in at around 150 million. Dortmund don't want to sell. He's just bought a house in Dortmund, so this is looking more unlikely day by day, although by the time this video goes out, he may have signed for the club. I don't think so, but 41 goals in 41 appearances. Is there anyone better? I don't think there's anyone better. And the fact that he's only 20 years of age, that it could be 10, 15 years of service to the club. I don't think he'd stay at the club that long. He'd probably move to Barcelona, Real Madrid at some point. But the guy is absolutely unbelievable, and he's by far my main man to join Manchester City, but I don't think he will. Pep's pick, however, and the pick that I think is the most likely this summer, actually, and he may have actually signed. I believe this one may have actually happened by the time this video goes out. He wants to leave before the Euros. It's Harry Kane. 32 goals, not as good as Haaland in 48 appearances, and 16 assists. Not many more assists than Haaland, actually, is it? But his link-up play, Harry Kane, is by far one of the best, isn't he, in the Premier League? His link-up play, he creates chances. And City, I don't think Haaland could play the false 9 role at City. Harry Kane can do what Haaland does, scoring the goals in front of goal, but also can drop deep and create chances for the wingers as well. And he's the perfect Pep centre forward. He's not the quickest, he's not got the pace, Harry Kane. He's not as intense on the in the press, which I think is an issue with him. And he has got an iffy injury record, which some fans might not be happy with. But the actual ability he has to bring players into play. He's the best striker in the Premier League, isn't he, at the moment? He really is. And who'd say no to him? 120 million, whether City are going to spend that, I'm not quite sure. I don't think, personally, City will go over 100 million for a player. But maybe Harry Kane is the one, and I expect him to be the one. But if City don't want to spend the money and they want a budget pick, my budget pick is Alexander Isak from Real Sociedad. 65 million about, he's got a 70 million euro release clause, 16 goals and 2 assists in 44 games. Yes, it's not as good as the other two. The other two are absolutely world-class players. This man is someone who could become world-class with players around him. But I think with, the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, creating chances for Alexander Isak, no doubt he'll improve as a player. He's maybe not the strongest despite being a big man, but he's got real good technical ability, good ball control, good dribbling. He can beat a man. He's quick. You saw that against Manchester United. Eric Bailly in the Europa League, he absolutely blitzed Eric Bailly for pace, and he does that a lot in the Spanish league, in La Liga. He scores some really important goals, scores some really good goals, and I think Alexander Isak could be the one for Manchester City if they can't get them. And I think, actually, I've predicted him for a long time. If City can't get Kane and Haaland, I believe, ahead of Darwin Nunez, ahead of Andre Silva, Alexander Isak could be the man. So this is how Harry Kane would look in that Manchester City starting 11 in that 25-man squad. And just look at that squad. I mean, with Harry Kane in there, have City got the best squad in the world? I mean, the one thing we've lacked is a striker, maybe a left-back. We've addressed that situation right there with those two signings. There's a lot of money. But, I mean, just imagine that front three there of Foden, Mahrez and Kane with De Bruyne or Bernardo, Gundogan in behind. It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? And it's a fantastic Manchester City side. But there's one signing left, a luxury signing that we need to look into, and that is someone where we lack maybe a player, and that is in central midfield. Someone to maybe give Gundogan a bit of a rest at times, someone who's very fluid, can play anywhere around the midfield, can even play in the forward line. Possibly. These are 3 players we've been looking at. So for central midfield, and again, once again, 3 picks, our pick, Pep's pick, and a budget pick. Now, this one is a sort of, like I said, a luxury signing. This is the least likely to happen. I think if City were to sign Kane, it'd be very unlikely that they sign another player because of the actual cost of Harry Kane. But maybe we could expect Kane and a left-back like Nuno Mendes, and that would be it for the transfer window. But if City wanted to make their squad the best it possibly could be, and make their squad absolute perfection, then one of these players, and 3 signings this summer, could be the ones to do that. So the first one is our pick, and it's Florian Neuhaus from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Didn't have the best of games against City in the Champions League for Gladbach, but I don't think there's anyone better as the heir to Ilkay Gundogan, to play as a backup to Gundogan, to learn from Ilkay Gundogan. 8 goals and 8 assists in 45 appearances this season will probably cost around 45 million from a not so good Gladbach side at the moment, but he is a really, really tidy midfielder. Like Ilkay Gundogan, he does the simple things well. And what I find really interesting about him is he's quite press resistant, as they call it. He can receive the ball under pressure with players around him, and he'll turn away, and the next thing you know, he's broken that midfield of the opposition, and he's got, the whole pitch to pass into, to pick a pass. As similar to Houssam Aouar, could be also an option as our pick. It's between them for me who would I pick, and in the end, because of Aouar's really poor season, I went for Florian Neuhaus, who's had a much better season. As for Pep's pick, I think there's no surprises here. An £80 million man who's made 26 appearances this season, which is poor. He's been injured for a lot of it, which is maybe a bit of a worry. 12 assists, however, and 7 goals, which is more than Neuhaus, isn't it? In half the appearances, it is Jack Grealish. The England international, he's similar to Foden in a way, but I think he could play the midfield better than Foden. He's such a good player, honestly, one of my favourite players in the Premier League. The only issue is he's going to cost, upwards of 70, 80 million pound, which might put City off. But he's like Harry Kane. He's desperate for a move to Manchester City. He really is. You can tell, he wants to play with De Bruyne, he wants to win trophies, and he could do that at City. And I think he'd fit in the City side really well. So I'd love Jack Grealish. I think he's probably my favourite player out of all these. I think I'd prefer him over Kane and Mendes, even though we don't even need a midfielder. I like him that much as a player. I think he's really, really good. And I hope City do manage to somehow pull it off. If they pulled that off, that would be a fantastic move, wouldn't it? And Pep's always said a few times, one of his favourite players in the Premier League is Jack Grealish. So maybe the club, when Pep signed a new contract, they promised to get him whatever he wanted. Maybe Jack Grealish was one of those promises. And our final one, which is our budget pick, with 3 goals and 2 assists in 29 appearances. And you can pick him up for around 20 million because his contract is up at the end of next year. And the club are struggling to keep hold of him. It's Mohamed Ihataren. Now, the Dutch midfielder is a sort of under-the-radar side, and I think he's a budget pick because he'll come so cheap because his contract's up. He's 19 years of age, and he is really good. If anyone's watched PSV Eindhoven, he's a bit of a, when he plays on the right, he's got a bit of a Mahrez about him, but he's also got that sort of, what I see as a David Silva quality, where he can pick that right pass. He really can pick that right pass in the midfield. He's silky in possession, always can beat a man in midfield, and he's really impressive. I think he's a bit of an out there signing if City did want to sign a midfielder and they wanted to take a risk, because he would be a risky signing because of, you know, he's not played many games this season. He's fell out with the board a bit because of not signing a new contract. He would be, I think, sort of under the radar signing, a risk, but at 20 million, is it that much of a massive risk? If he flops, he flops. City go and get another midfielder in the future anyway, and they can sell him for a bit of money. They'd make 15 million on him, 10 million on him anyway. At 19 years of age, he's got plenty of time to develop, and imagine his development under Pep Guardiola. So Mohamed Ihataren is our budget pick. So let's have a look at how the squad is now looking, and that is one of the best squads in the world, if not, yeah, in the Premier League, if not in the world. And I think that squad could be strong enough depth-wise to lead Manchester City to that, you know, sort of holy grail that we talk about so much, which is, of course, the quadruple. The press keep pushing it, didn't they? Pushed it this year. City couldn't do it. But I mean, look at that squad depth. If one player's injured, another one steps in who's just as good. And that would be a ridiculous team, wouldn't it, to have going into next season. You let us know in the comment section down below. How do you think Manchester City's squad will look next season? Who do you think will sign? Do you think it'll be Kane? Do you think it'll be Haaland? Do you think we'll sign someone else? You let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like the videos. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.